And it's the state of football, RIC, and the place to be. Rick Saratow, telling it like it is when it comes to the NFL Draft. Everything Football Season 2, Episode 28, Part 286. For those of you who are into Roman numerals, I know my co-host each and every Thursday here, Dane Vandernat, he checks in from the Midwest over there in Kansas City. Good morning, Dane. How are you today?
I'm doing well, man. Just enjoying those Roman numerals, enjoying some nice fall weather out here in Kansas City, and fired up for some NFL football tonight, Rick.
It is. It's NFL kickoff, boys. Welcome. Buckle up. It's a double chin strap affair. We finally got here, and I'm glad you're enjoying the fall weather because it's like monsoon season. I came down from North Jersey down here, and the hurricane season's a real thing. The COVID thing is a real thing. It's a crazy situation here at the Jersey Shore, and it's always a situation when we have Lorenz Leinweber from across the pond making his back-to-back appearance here on the State of Football. Lorenz, how are you today, man?
Man, I'm great, and I'm honored, getting to go back-to-back with you, RIC in the place to be, and LORENZ in the place to be. So,
Lorenz has been saving that one. He's been holding that up the sleeve. Oh, right. Buckle up. When it's NFL kickoff, we pull out all the punches.
I always tell Alec when he's hosting, he has to say ALEC in the place to be, but he doesn't listen to me. We know how it is, but had to pull that out once. But no, I'm excited. I've been listening to the NFL on CBS Music or whatever it is. It's actually my alarm sound, but I've been listening to it all day. Just setting a couple of alarms every half hour, just so I could listen to it. And If that tells you about how excited I am, man, I can't wait. I'm probably going to watch some tonight. Going to catch the rest of the game tomorrow morning because it's going to be real late over here. But I'm fired up. I'm excited, and I'm glad to be back on the State of Football.
Lorenz just wakes up to NFL films and John Facenda every morning. That's what he wakes up to. That's his alarm clock. But hey, when it's NFL season kickoff, anything is bound to happen here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. Big shout out to all the chat room people. I see you out there waking up with us here today, broadcasting live around the universe. And we're going to have another jam-packed show a little bit late with the traffic. But we have Neil Stratton, CEO of InsideTheLeague.com. And we also have a FitGMR appearance. We'll be going overtime with our guy, Brandon. And I'm excited about that as we start to introduce our audience to the esports industry, and we'll go overtime. We'll get in all of my predictions. 6-4 last week against the spread in college football. 2-1 with your best bets. I'll have a little predictions for you there. But hey, like we do each and every Thursday, Dane Vandernat here, Director of College Scouting at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, of course, former pro personnel of the Oakland Raiders. He comes on here between Dane and Lorenz. I mean, you're in for a treat here if you're a draftnik. We're going to, peel back the layers of week 1, see who stood out. We're going to take a look at week 2, some matchups we're keeping an eye on. And, of course, over at collegiate.nflpa.com, you can find the entire watch list, 500-plus names. You'll also find these segments that will air later today and throughout the weekend. You'll also find are risers and surprisers and players who are standing out each week on the NFL PA Collegiate Bowl website. And I think we're, 1, the most diverse all-star game, 2, the most transparent, because we got prospects for days. That's what we do here at the NFL Draft Bible, at the NFL PA Collegiate Bowl. And so, Dane, I know you've got a lot of knowledge to drop on us. Let's kick it off. Week 1, college football in the books. Give us a couple guys here that stood out to you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Rick, as you and Lorenz both well know, there are a ton of guys that impressed. Obviously, week 1, you kind of always have a mixed bag of, teams gearing up, unsure necessarily who they're going to be playing against and what schemes they're going to be going against. So I always kind of throw week 1 out the door for the most part. But, the first player I want to highlight, and I try to stay away from some of the obvious guys that everybody's talking about or that everyone, the whole country watched on ESPN. So wanted to highlight some of the more maybe obscure or less well-known guys, if we should say. I'm going to start with Northern Iowa left tackle Trevor Penning. a guy we had on our big board, a guy that is, widely considered one of the top FCS players whose name we should be hearing come April. Obviously, this last year we had Brown from UNI get drafted, and this is the heir apparent there. Played right tackle previously, now over at left. Big, long, physical nature. Love the blocking intensity that Trevor brings. I wanted to see this year improve kind of his foot quickness a little bit, make a few more athletic plays where he's known more as a mauler and really includes a lot of his physical presence. You can see his way too impressive squat here, but for me, he played Iowa State this last Saturday. Going to be their best competition. It's going to be the one film that every single NFL club is going to put on when they go to evaluate Trevor. They're going to sit there and say, hey, Iowa State, top 20 team, in-state rival, this is going to be one of their, if not the best game that they played. Obviously UNI in the Missouri Valley Conference, they got a great schedule with North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Illinois State coming up. So some very good teams. But this last weekend against Iowa State, he stood out. Very competitive game, probably a lot more competitive than the Big 12 and Iowa State wanted. But, for me, Lorenz, Rick, Trevor Penning's a riser and a guy that we're going to continue to talk and hear about as we approach this season and eventually April.
It's amazing what's in the water there in northern Iowa. And I had to make sure he's another Iowa native between Spencer Brown, who I loved coming out. Trevor Penning, Lorenz, have you got eyeballs on him? How do you kind of rate him compared to where Spencer Brown was?
I have, and it was kind of tough because I believe they played in the spring, if I'm not mistaken, and but I only got 2 TV copies of that, so I had to go all the way back to the 2019 film with him. But I came out pretty impressed. I think if you're talking floor, if you're talking a little bit more readiness in terms of technique, he's honestly a step ahead or maybe even 2 of what Spencer Brown was in college. Now, he's not going to be the freak athlete. Obviously, we talk about Spencer Brown, the elite athleticism that he does, that he had and that he showed at his pro day. But I think Trevor Penning's for real. He's got the size. He's still a very good athlete. Please don't misunderstand me on that point. And we're seeing it right there. He was going up against really good talent there at Iowa State. They're loaded on both sides of the ball, and he's looking good, and he has looked good. And it was a bit of a projection going off of the 2019 tape, but I think if he can keep it up, we could be talking about a pretty high draft pick, probably even higher than Spencer Brown, because I think with Spencer Brown, there was still a bit of a holdup in terms of his technique, more of a bet on those traits that he did have. And I think Penning might even be a step ahead of that.
Very impressive for the young man out of Northern Iowa. We love to highlight the small school FCS prospects. Northern Iowa has been a hotbed lately. And you wonder, what did Iowa State, what are you looking at here? A lot of guys falling through the cracks and going on to the NFL level. But to that point, Spencer Brown, far from a polished product. Some of these guys are late bloomers, late sprouters. They got the cornfield strength out there, though, in Iowa. So that's a good one there, Dane. Appreciate it. Who else you got for us?
Yeah, and you know what, Rick? Don't forget about UNI's Isaiah Weston, the wide receiver, too. Another big kid who made a lot of plays a couple years ago. So certainly something in the water up in northern Iowa, and that's why they competed so well against Iowa State. But my next guy is, one who's a grad transfer originally from Rice, and Blaze Aldridge, now at Missouri. He replaced Nick Bolton, the second-round pick of the Kansas City Chiefs. If you read the news clippings, you'll see that's how they recruited him from Rice this past offseason. Came on yesterday for the Owls, or not yesterday, this last week, playing against the Chippewas of CMU, and playing from stacked inside linebacker, ripped off an impressive 3.5 sacks against a good Chippewa offensive line. And what's more impressive is that, again, he's not an on the line of scrimmage type guy. This is a guy that had to time up his blitzes, that came on as a delayed blitzer oftentimes, still able to be extremely disruptive, plays with such a high motor. Not the biggest guy at around 6'2", 220, but certainly a guy whose impact was felt on Saturday, and certainly anxious to see how he's going to do here coming up now against a better competition, and we'll talk about that in a little bit when they play Kentucky here this upcoming Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know too much about this young man, but 3.5 sacks, off to a blazing start. That Blaze Aldridge, and I'll tell you, he's got the haircut going. He's got the mini long-haired mohawk situation. So, hey, figure out a way to stand out. This Blaze Aldridge, who is going to wear number 25 in honor of Aaron O'Neal this upcoming week. Shout out to Samantha, the super producer here behind the scenes. Are you familiar, Lorenz, with Blaze Aldridge?
I'm not with his film. I know the name, but let's say he's off to a great start, making that transition to the SEC, and he'll get a lot more opportunities to show that he's for real. And just got to keep it up, because scouts are going to see him, people are going to see him. Just evaluating that SEC tape. That's a great move to make as a grad transfer, and fired up to see what else he can do.
And the number 25 in honor of Aaron O'Neal, the St. Louis native, was tragically died, I guess, back in 2005 during a voluntary workout for the program. So he's honoring his legacy, which is a nice thing to do. All right, Dane, who else? Week 1 college football guys who had your head on a swivel grabbing your attention.
Well, and I wasn't the only one. Weber State had their head on a swivel as well, playing against Devin Lloyd, the linebacker for Utah. And, again, here we're talking about, a Pac-12 team going down and playing an FCS opponent here in Weber State. But Devin Lloyd for the Utes, who wears number 0 for them, he was a one-man wrecking crew, recording a dozen tackles, a sack, an interception, and countless great chase plays. At 6'0", 2'6", 228, he has that kind of modern inside linebacker build that the NFL looks for, and he's got good speed and range. Obviously, was very productive so far. He's got BYU in the Holy War this upcoming Saturday, so obviously competition level is going to go up here for him. But another player off to a great start, was very impressive in week 1.
Yeah, Devin Lloyd all over my inbox, getting littered with emails about Devin Lloyd there, Lorenz.
Yeah, actually was my favorite linebacker coming out of summer scouting so far in the entire group. And I think his athleticism and like you said, Dane, his ability in pursuit, I think as a modern day, that weak side linebacker at the next level, he's a perfect fit. The amount of things that he can do dropping into space are really impressive. You need to do that playing linebacker in the NFL in 2022 whenever he's going to be there. And he's someone who I think isn't quite on the radar yet for a lot of people, just because the Pac-12 had a shortened season. He took a big step forward in those few games last year compared to his 2019 tape. He's off to a great start this year. Really the things I was looking forward to see, making plays in the backfield. Where we're seeing some of that, and it's exciting because this is a really talented young man.
Yeah, it's good to see some guys popping up there in the Pac-12, and USC, UCLA out to hot starts, Utah out west, another team to keep an eye on, especially Devin Lloyd, who's receiving the praise here from Dane Vandernat, Executive Director, NFLPA Collegiate Ball, along with NFL Draft Bible Senior Scout Lorenz Leinweber. I am Rick Saratella. This is the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. We thank you so much for tuning in wherever you may be around the globe. We're spanning the globe, looking for talent. It's what we do since 2002. Wow. Go to NFLDraftBible.com. 2 decades of independent scouting analysis, and we're handing off the torch now. We got the Young Bucks coming up, Lorenz. You see Alec Polito sprinkled in throughout the week. We're so excited about it, and that means tune in Saturday morning. I'm getting a call from the bullpen. Big Law on hiatus. I will be hosting the Saturday tailgate show along with Lorenz and Alex, so stay tuned for that. I think Big Law will be here tomorrow, Samantha. We got Big Law for the Football Friday, which means I got to get you my picks today. Stay tuned later on in the show for that. We're talking NFL draft prospects, specifically NFLPA Collegiate Bowl watch list, guys that have a shot for getting that invite out to Pasadena so we can litter them with roses, throw some petals down from LA to Pasadena on our way from the Intercontinental Hotel. Dane, you got any other candidates from this past week?
I got a slew of them, Rick. It all depends on whoever we want to hit here. But, another guy that I tweeted out about yesterday, or excuse me, 2 days ago as well. And it's outside linebacker for Oregon State. And it was a guy that wasn't real high on my initial list, but, somebody that kind of came on. And when you threw on the Oregon State-Purdue game, it was hard not to be impressed. And the player that I'm talking about is, I'm going to butcher his name, so please forgive me, but it's Andre Hughes Murray. He wore number 2 for Oregon State, he does wear number 2 for Oregon State. He's been an outside linebacker there. He's a 6-year senior. He's got that thick physical presence that a lot of NFL scouts want to see from that 3-4 outside backer, sub-defensive end. He's a guy that, plays with great power, plays with great tenacity, physicality. He was a guy, Rick, that wasn't on our big board initially, but I'll tell you what, he keeps playing like he did on Saturday. He's going to, find that invitation to Pasadena, as you're alluding to.
There it is. Andres Hughes Murray out of Federal Way, Washington. He's a West Coast cat from thick and thin. Lorenz, putting a name. We got homework to do here. You got anything?
Oh yeah, Dana's giving me some homework to do here. Gotta be honest, he was not on my radar, so I shout out to Dane for bringing him up. I'll have to get a look, but those stats are looking pretty promising, and I'll have to get eyes on him here at some point.
Hey, that's why they pay Dane the big bucks. He delivers, and we've had some luck with Oregon State. In fact, 2 years ago, Jake Luton, a quarterback out of Oregon State, drafted and getting a handful of starts there for the Jacksonville Jaguars before they went on to Trevor Lawrence. And, of course, 43 players drafted from the 2021 NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. 2022 will be our 10th annual game, 11th annual event. And, Dane, are we able to release numbers yet, or did you want to wait until the actual week 1 was in the books in terms of 53-man rosters and PS?
No, hey, shoot, Rick. I mean, we're excited, man. And obviously we tallied them up because we wanted to see who's going to make that Tuesday roster, right? Because Tuesday is such the pivotal day in, for NFL teams as far as they're concerned. But, really excited. We had 81 guys make NFL rosters this year, 34 on the active 53-man rosters, 37 on practice squads, another 10, on the various reserve lists. And, while I'm so fired up for those 81 that made it, I know that there's dozens more, Rick, if not more than that, from this year's class that are still going to earn their opportunity on practice squads and even elevations up to the 53 of the season as it goes on.
Well, I know you have more prospects to get to, Dane, but I got to take a moment here and give you a public shout out because I know this is our 3rd year working together. When we were sitting here 3 years ago, there wasn't even 40 guys hanging out in the National Football League from the previous 9 years of the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. So to take it to 81 in just 2 years' time, it means NFLPA Collegiate Bowl is scouting the nation coast to coast, looking for talent, north, south, east, west, overseas. We got you covered, but it's an incredible achievement, Dane, and it really shouldn't be overlooked. And just happy to be a part of it, my man.
No, I appreciate that, but it's all a collaborative and team effort, Rick, as you know. So we enjoy our jobs. We enjoy this hunt and this grind looking for guys, as you and Lorenz do as well. So, hey, you know what? It's what we do. It's what they pay us the little bucks to do, Rick, right? So, you know what? We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep finding some hidden gems. And you know what? If you have the talent to play in the NFL, we want to give you an opportunity. And it's what we can do is provide guys that opportunity to get in front of all 32 teams, be on NFL Network, interview with the different clubs and present their case for why they ought to be either their next draft pick or signee. So anxious to continue this work, Rick, as we continue on our way here.
Absolutely. And despite being virtual last year, we did manage to conduct interviews with nearly every player who participated, and we got those interviews out to the NFL teams. 2 years ago, we had over 270 scouts pass through throughout the course of the week at the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl out there in Pasadena. And I've been hanging out in California quite a bit. Not bad for a Jersey guy. So I will say I will be on the pregame show. It was pre-recorded Saturday morning, Emory's Hunt Football Game Plan, channel 623 on DirecTV. It's also on Comcast and a lot of the other cable channels. But I talked some D2 small school prospects. One guy you want to talk about under the radar, Joshua Williams, Fayetteville State, 6'2" and 5/8", 193 pounds. Scouts are flocking, as I'm reading my notes. They're flocking to the campus there in Fayetteville State, according to my sources. But big week, 4.5 tackles, big pick 6 for an interception, active hands, I noticed when I was watching him. But that size, playing corner, 6'2.5", 193, Fayetteville State, Joshua Williams. Just keep an eye on him. That's all I'm saying. We're going to have a lot of small school guys on Saturday morning, so I wanted to get that in. Craig T. Smith, longtime scout over there, with a question in the chat room for you here, Dane. Where to go? Tanner Morgan, Minnesota, a guy who I was high on, then last year I was low on, and now I'm kind of in between on. Where do you fit with the Tanner Morgan, the quarterback there for the Gophers?
Yeah, obviously a guy that, every year we're kind of waiting to see him really take off and try and ascend his level. Excuse me. I think the biggest thing that he has going against him is his size. He doesn't have prototypical NFL size, but obviously he's been a great leader for the Golden Gophers for the last few years. I think that he's, going to be a good free agent for a team after the draft to go pick up and, be that third, fourth quarterback for them in training camp, and then hopefully earn his opportunity on a practice squad. I don't see starter real backup level ability out of Tanner, and that's just, one man's opinion. But, I certainly think that what he's been able to achieve thus far, playing a lot of years in Big Ten, starting a lot of games, leading that program to a lot of wins. I'm anxious to see them. I thought he played pretty well. He exceeded my expectation against the Buckeyes, who are obviously a national title contender every single year and come loaded with defensive talent. So.
Yeah, and I don't know if he gets drafted. He'll definitely be in one of the big 3 all-star games. He's well coached there with PJ Fleck. The size, I think, might hurt him a little bit. He's right around 6 foot. Lorenz, what do you think here? Tanner Morgan, what's your take?
No, I would echo your guys' sentiment on him. He's someone who definitely was productive. I think he runs that system there pretty well. I think he's got some bad habits, though. Placing balls high over the middle almost drove me crazy watching Rashad Bateman. But definitely someone who, if you hear PJ Fleck talk about him, if you hear other people talk about him, they're really high on him. And I think what Dane said, as sort of that third, fourth guy, maybe someone who has to go through or will go through practice squad and stick on there for a couple of years. I could certainly see Tanner Morgan doing that, unless he really steps up his game this year consistently. And I don't know. I'm not all the way out on him not getting drafted at all. I think there's still a shot, but there's still some things that he's going to have to clean up for that to happen.
Yeah, there's always an opportunity, right? Especially with what I would consider to be one of the weaker quarterback classes thus far from what I've seen early on. But a lot of football left to be played. We're just recapping college football week 1. We're celebrating NFL kickoff tonight. It is September 9th, 2021, NFLDraftBible.com. They got you covered from east to west, north to south, overseas, international, around the globe. Oh, my God. It's just unbelievable here what we do. Having so much fun, too much fun. I agree with you, Craig. I could have a beer with Dane, and Lorenz is legal now, so I could have a beer with him too. But we're just talking prospects on a Thursday morning, counting down the NFL kickoff. I mean, does life get any better than this? All right, Dane. We got some more time here for some week 1 top performers. Who else you got?
Well, shoot. I mean, hey, Rick, you know what? Who really impressed me? We've got a corner from Texas Tech who we highlighted. He was on our big board this offseason, or I should say this preseason. But DeMarcus Fields, for me, is just a guy that continues to impress week in, week out. Played the Cougars of Houston this last Saturday. He continuously showed up to me in the run game, which was something I kind of knocked him on as far as his tape from last year. But to me, when I look at DeMarcus Fields, he's got great awareness. He's got great field vision. He understands routes, combinations, first drive of the game. He breaks up a corner a route when he's playing the two flat there. He just has great presence to himself. I'm really high on his ball skills, his ability to turn and locate, his coverage in both zone and off man. I think is really impressive. DeMarcus Fields, for me, is a guy that was my sleeper until you called me out, Rick, and are asking me for more guys.
There you go. That's what we do here on the State of Football. We just keep digging, finding, uncovering, unearthing gems, never leaving a stone unturned. Are you kidding me? We're going to get into some matchups to take a look ahead at. Before we do, Lorenz, you got any prospects you want to sprinkle in? By the way, the Prospect Profits is airing later today, I believe, with Alec Polito, Lorenz Lineweber, and Jack Despel. You want to give a quick plug there?
Yeah, at 5 o'clock, we'll have our last 4 team breakdowns. We've been doing these for all 32 teams. You can go back to Twitch or on Twitter and rewatch those episodes if you're curious about what we think about the cap situation, overall talent situation about your team. We're going to be picking over/under win totals. So if you're a gambler, you can maybe take some away there. Although we always disagree, so you gotta find with whose argument you're sticking there. But I think it'll just be Jack and me tonight. Because Alex got something, but usually it's the 3 of us, and we have a lot of fun doing this. But I'm glad you asked me if I have a prospect to shout out, because I've been dying to bring this guy up, and it's Bailey Zappi from Western Kentucky, who our scout for us, Nick LaMattina, he works for the Western Kentucky. He works in the recruiting department, and I saw some things brought up, with people who are into FCS football about Bailey Zappi, and I texted him. We talk every once in a while. I shot him a text. I was like, "Hey Nick, is this guy for real? Is this guy a real NFL draft prospect?" And he's usually really very realistic, would never gas up his own guys, but he was like, "Man, he might be. He might just be." And I think he threw for 7 touchdowns or something crazy like that in his debut game. They took half of the Houston Baptist offense there. That's where he came from to Western Kentucky. So shout out to Nick and shout out to Bailey Zappi, who had a great week 1 there. And really exciting to see for him and for Western Kentucky, who I think are quietly building a really good program there.
Hey, you know what, Rick? Bailey's was one of my other sleepers as well this offseason, man. I was highly impressed watching Houston Baptist last year. I saw them compete a couple times on TV, and I made a point of following Bailey. Real excited for him at Western, man. We can't have Lorenz on here too many times, Rick.
I know, Lorenz, we were trying to stash him. We were hiding him. But I got to say, if you read the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl Week 1 watch on the website, you would know Bailey Zapp on the radar. How about the kid? Did you see the other kid? He threw for 10 touchdowns. Did you guys see that one?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. All right. So anybody else there,
about these Michigan quarterbacks go on to have such success? You're looking at Tennessee, Presbyterian, and then you look back at Michigan, and they always seem a little more mediocre there.
Yeah, Coach Harbaugh, he's going to run into, I hate to say it, week 4, an undefeated Rutgers team. And I'm just saying, you heard it here first. Rutgers is going to be 4-0. What do you guys think about that, Dane?
I think they keep playing like they did against your Temple Owls, man. They're going to be.
Lorenz, did you get any eyes on some Rutgers guys this week?
I did not. I kind of focused my attention on a couple of.
You're slipping, brother.
Yeah, you know what? I might have been. If you got to tell me the schedule until week 4, and I'll tell you if they'll be unbeaten or not. But you know what? I don't want to. I'll say there's probably a good chance, like you guys said, if they just keep playing like they do, a lot of talent on that team. And that's talk about. We just talked about Western Kentucky building up a really good program there. Talk about Rutgers doing a good job
in 1 year. Wow, Isaiah Pacheco. I can just tell you that all the scouts were gawking at this young man, and we spoke to Coach Shiano. He said, "Hey, he's the toughest running back I've ever coached in my life." Oh. Keep an eye on that young man. All right, let's chop it up, take a look ahead. In fact, should I put these guys on the spot? I mean, it's NFL kickoff. We've been getting Super Bowl predictions from all our guests all week. We did it last year. We got to do it this year. Let's put them on the spot, right? You guys all know I have Tampa Bay over the Buffalo Bills. I went with the Bucs last year. I was in the minority. People kind of looking at me sideways. Now I'm hopping over on the wagon. You know, I got room on the bus. Tampa Bay over Buffalo. That's my Super Bowl prediction. Lorenz, I'll kick it off with you since you said you've been breaking down all the teams. Who you got in this? I asked you yesterday. You got the 49ers, right?
I was just gonna say, dude, do I get to have a
you need a do-over though? Picking the 49ers, you need a do-over.
I'm sticking with my Niners. You know, ahead of the season, I got nothing to lose. Go Niners! Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, 2-quarterback system. They're going to steamroll over the NFL. Let's go. Nick Bosa.
Hey, you know the Giants.
I'm even more confident in that today.
Well, about 30 years ago, the New York Giants won in a somewhat similar fashion. Phil Simms, Jeff Hostetler. It was almost like a week-to-week thing. And they ran it, right? They ran the table, man. And
Lawrence Taylor was pretty good, too.
Say that again?
That guy Lawrence Taylor was pretty good, too.
Lawrence Taylor, Pepper Johnson, Leonard Marshall, Carl Banks. Man.
Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick at their finest back there coaching.
I was going to say decent coach and defensive coordinator. I mean, I wasn't even alive, but just from reading a couple books and everything.
It's unbelievable. You know, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I will be here on Saturday, and we'll get more into it. But it blows my mind that Lorenz was literally 1 year old when 9/11 happened. So there's actually guys out there that have graduated college that really weren't even born when 9/11 happened, so they really don't understand the significance of it. And it's crazy. You know, the 20th year anniversary, all these TV specials, going to be a lot of football played in New York at Wagner, at Army. That's going to be something to see. And West Point is going to have really a unbelievable atmosphere this Saturday. We'll get more into that on the Saturday show, on the tailgate. All right, it's Rick Saratella, Lorenz Lineweber, Dane Vandernat breaking it down just for you. Dane, quick Super Bowl prediction before we look ahead. And yeah, I'm looking at the chat room. You know I'm going to bring up Rutgers. You reminded me yesterday, Craig T. Quick Super Bowl prediction, Dane. Let's get you on the record here.
Yeah, I got to stay local here, Rick. Going to go back with the Kansas City Chiefs over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this time.
And so that'll be interesting because the Bucs are returning all the starters. Mahomes I think I had a hammy or something going on, so we'll see. I was in a fantasy football draft last night with the first pick, I think, so I had to go my homies. Like, let's not overthink it, right? All right, so let's flip the page. Week 2, college football. More big games, more big matchups, more big prospects, Dane. Who are you going to be keeping an eye on?
Too many of them, Rick. But tomorrow night, we're going to kick it off. North Dakota at Utah State, right? Just like we were talking about earlier with Trevor Penning going against his lone FCS competition. Tomorrow night, we get North Dakota offensive tackle. I'm going to butcher his name, but Matt Walensko facing off against Utah State there, the Aggies. He's got future games upcoming here, similar to Trevor. He's got North Dakota State, Illinois State, South Dakota State. So he's going to have some great competition and some great games. But again, this is going to be Matt's opportunity to really shine for NFL scouts, for all the clubs they're going to turn on, the Utah State film to go see Brian Harnson's new team over there go and compete against him. But that's my first matchup. And then we're going to get, you want me to just keep rolling here, Rick, or? All right, Saturday, I'm going to get Pittsburgh at Tennessee, little ACC-SEC matchup. What's the one matchup I love in this game? We got Kenny Pickett, the ninth-year quarterback at Pitt, one of Dane Vandernat's personal favorites, going up against arguably the top corner in the NFL draft in Tennessee's Allante Taylor. I really can't wait to see these two kind of go head-to-head. Is Kenny going to target Allante, or is he going to use all that wisdom he has and stay away from Allante's side? Continuing on the East Coast, App State at Miami. Can Miami rebound after their shellacking versus Alabama? Will De'Aaron King showcase why NFL scouts and teams ought to consider him a quarterback prospect rather than a wide receiver or running back? But ultimately, can Miami's defense slow down Chase Bryce and big board receivers, Jalen Virgil, Corey Sutton, Thomas Hennigan? This App State offense, Rick, is loaded with some talent, and they're going to be really fun to watch. Again, Lorenz, this will be great film for everyone to go and watch the smaller school App State against the bigger school Miami Hurricanes. Also on Saturday, we got Missouri and Kentucky, SEC early season matchup. Both teams coming into the year with high expectations. Kentucky cruised to an easy victory last week against Louisiana Monroe. Wide receiver Josh Ali leading the team with 136 yards, a ridiculous 27-yard average and a touchdown. They got D-line Josh Paschal led the team with 7 tackles and a sack. Safety Yusuf Corker also recorded a sack, 2 pass breakups. All these guys were on the NFLPA big board leading into the year. They're going to be going against this Missouri defense that brings back both D tackles, Akil Byers and Kobe Whiteside. We just talked about Blaze Aldridge up at the top, see how he's going to continue to perform here. And then one of my favorite prospects overall in transfer from Tulsa, cornerback Caleb Evans, who picked up right where he left off, got 2 PBUs, and including an interception in their opener against CMU as well. And then last but not least for you guys here, Louisiana and Nicholls State. Louisiana coming off against that tough loss to Texas last weekend, but I consider Louisiana one of the elite teams of the Group of 5. The Raging Cajuns, they feature some top defenders and players like outside linebacker Chauncey Minock, corner Eric Cameron Gurr, and safeties Percy Butler and Braylon Trahan. They're going to face off against the Nicholls State team, who's got one of my favorite wide receivers in Dejeen Dixon. Dixon, 6'0", 201, 9.78-inch hands, 33 and 5/8-inch arms. One of the most impressive looking physically as far as wide receivers in the draft class. Plays tough. In their loss at Memphis last weekend, Dixon led the Colonels with 7 receptions, 107 yards. Can't wait to see this matchup for him as he rises from FCS to go up against a very good FBS team in Louisiana.
Cream always rises to the top. That's why you got to tune in on Thursday. We got the best of the best each and every Thursday throughout the football season to kick your weekend off, your early weekend, your Thursday. We don't need a stinking football Friday. We're here on Thursday, kicking off Thursday night football. We'll have predictions in a minute, but Dane Vandernat breaking it down. He'll be back each and every Thursday as we count you down to the 2022 NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, January, out there at the granddaddy of them all, Rose Bowl. We are just getting started. Buckle up. I hope you have some extra seatbelts there, Dane, for the upcoming weekend. We always appreciate the time, my brother.
Always love being on. Always great seeing you and Lorenz here, Ricky.
Absolutely. That's Dane Vandernat, former director of pro personnel for the Oakland Raiders, current executive director for the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, and part of the State of Football Familia here, weekdays, 9 a.m. Eastern. Your home for real football talk in the mornings. Make sure you check us out, NFLDraftBible.com, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. And Lorenz, our next guest, is always dropping gems as well. Neil Stratton, before we welcome him in, any final thoughts with our segment with Dane there?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm very happy. Two players who Alec is sick and tired of hearing from me. Got a shout out there. And Allante Taylor and Dejon Dixon, who Allante Taylor is the Tennessee cornerback, dealt with some injuries last year and is going to he's got a shot, I think, to be the best senior corner in the country. And then Dejon Dixon is someone who could have gone to LSU, had some legal issues that ended up not being true. That held him back, was only able to go to Nicholls State, but has a lot more talent than that. No disrespect to Nicholls State, at almost 6'3", a tremendous route runner and really an NFL type wide receiver. So yeah, I'm excited. I was really excited to hear those two names there because those two guys can really play, and the others I'm sure can too.
Yeah, I'm excited for the start of the football season. I'm excited. We just spent 45 minutes talking about NFL draft prospects. What a treat for our listening audience at home. I'm looking at the chat room. Zach, good morning. Did you just smell the coffee? Thanks for noticing now. Yes, we got the Barbies, man. We got Oceana's back from North Kakalaka. She just got back, so she wanted to redecorate the situation here, and this is what I walked into from the monsoon here at the Jersey Shore, driving down the great Garden State Parkway. But hopefully the weather's a lot better out in the Houston, Texas area because Neil Stratton always bringing the heat. InsideTheLeague.com, your home for agent industry, scouting community, news, and nobody covers it as well as Neil Stratton. He's an author. He's a friend. He's a familia. He is the insider. Go check it out, InsideTheLeague.com. And while you're at it, go to Amazon, subscribe to his 2 books, Moving the Chains, which is an inside look of the NFL draft process. So if you're a new agent, a parent, a player getting ready for the upcoming draft, Moving the Chains, great investment, as is Scout Speak, which we make all of our scouts read here at the NFL Draft Bible. Lorenz has read it twice, from front to back and back to front, because he's just so well versed like that. He can read reverse. But Neil Stratton here joining us here. Good morning, Neil. How are you today?
Doing great, brothers. How are y'all today? It's good seeing your faces. Good to talk some football. Glad to be back.
It really is. And we have the NFL kickoff tonight, Tampa Bay playing Dallas. So we're going to put you on the spot here, Neil. Little Super Bowl prediction before we get into it, because all of our guests this week have been put on the hot seat. I'm going Tampa Bay over Buffalo. Lorenz is going San Fran over Buffalo. Dane is going Kansas City over Tampa Bay in a rematch. Who you got?
You know, talking to some friends with the Rams, they're really excited about what Matt Stafford brings them. And I can see, I kind of share that optimism. They've obviously, to me, they've got the best defensive player in the NFL right in the middle of their defensive line. So I'm going to go a little outside the box and go Rams. I don't think Tom Brady can do it forever. I mean, listen, I'm a Drew Brees guy. Always have been. Last year proved to me who the GOAT of all time is. I hate to say it, but Tom Brady he's unmatched. But Father Time's undefeated. So I'm going to say Rams out of the NFC. As for the AFC, I'm going to go, I don't know, I guess maybe not so outside the box given the other experts' predictions, but I kind of like the direction the Bills are taking. I like the team that's built with defense. I like the direction of Josh Allen. They seem to have a little bit of magic right now. And notwithstanding the fact that the Chiefs are an awesome team with a rebuilt offensive line, I just like the direction the Bills are going right now. And so I'm going to say Bills versus Rams for the big championship. And as for who's going to take it, I'm going to say Rams.
Wow. Okay. A lot of people liking what Stafford and McVay have going on there. So that'll be interesting. And the Buffalo Bills, I mean, I got to say, they're my pick too, with a big asterisk, because they seem to be the least vaccinated team. And that could always come back to bite them in the playoffs. So we'll see how that situation plays out. But let's take a look at the scouting votes system, Neil, that you've been kind of piecing together here. And we've been talking about it now for a couple of weeks. I said, man, what a tough task. But if anybody's going to be able to deliver, it's going to be Neil Stratton. So you've conducted the poll. What did you find? What are the results? What are we revealing here?
Well, we kicked it off on Monday. We're calling it the Bart list to memorialize our friend Danton Bartow. And after 1 week, well, not even quite a week of voting, but I guess after the first 5 days of voting, we have some leaders. In the NFC, Ted Monago, who I believe is a national scout for the Rams right now, is a guy who's always gotten a lot of chatter and positive talk from people in the industry. And he's at the top of the leaderboard right now among NFC scouts. And you've got Alonzo Highsmith, the winner of the CO Brocato Award here with ITL that we awarded here on your platform last year. He's right there. He's second. And then we've got several others that are kind of tied at third right now. An interesting takeaway from the NFC list, 3 Seahawks evaluators: Alonzo Highsmith, Aaron Heinlein, who I believe is an area scout, and Trent Kirchner, who's essentially their assistant GM there, more or less, all in the mix there. So hats off to all of them. And then, of course, Jeff Ireland, who came and accepted the first ever Best Draft Award from us in 2017. Moving to the AFC, Matt Winston, another guy, kind of like a Ted Monago, not necessarily the guy that you always hear on future GM's list, but highly regarded across the league. He's right now the leader right now among AFC scouts. Then you've got Ed Dodge with the Colts. Elliot Wolf. Now he's a guy who is usually recognized as a future GM along with Ed. Those guys are both right there tied at second. And then we've got Brian Gain, a former GM with the Bills, who probably will get a shot another at some point down the road. And then 2 more, Matt Donahoe, who's I believe his father, maybe his grandfather, Tom Donahoe. I'm not in my generations listed there. Has a big name in the game. And then James Lipfert, who's highly regarded, a little under the radar, maybe because of the Texans' fortunes last year, but another guy who's on the way up, just got moved up. He's the second in command there, along with Matt Bazurgan with the Texans. So impressive list. We're just getting started with this. We're going to conduct voting all the way through September. I'm really excited about the direction it's going right now. We already have half as many votes for this as we did for our salary survey last year, which to me gives you an idea of what kind of pride scouts take in their industry and wanting to reward their peers. Even they want to know who's the best scout, even more so than they want to know who's getting paid the most. So hats off to them. We're excited about this. We're hoping that we'll continue to get good results. It's been a lot of fun to gather this. We're going to take the top 10 from each conference. So there are another 5 scouts that we didn't even name yet that are also in the mix and could zoom to the top of the board. So exciting stuff. We're really looking forward to tracking it as we go through the rest of this month.
No, that's outstanding. Great stuff. A lot of usual suspects, though. I mean, a couple of surprises here. Lorenz, what's your takeaway?
Yeah, like you said, the Seahawks, that's really impressive that they have 3 people on this list. When I was kind of whipping up that graphic, I was thinking, wow, as a 49ers fan, so to say, that's pretty impressive because, Neil, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think they just lost 2 big-time front office members there this past cycle. So just speaks to the job that they're doing. This NFC West is so loaded, and the Seahawks, I don't know when the last time was that they had a losing season, honestly, probably before I got into being a football fan. And this is really why. This really is really impressive by them.
For my money, probably the top to bottom best division in football. You could see the Cardinals being a surprise team that goes deep in the playoffs. I mean, every team in that division is built the right way, and I think it starts in the front office, and all 4 of them, I think, have really impressive minds up there that are making the important decisions, and it shows on the field.
Yeah, and I would say the Seahawks, they have a Super Bowl to show for it, and I know they should have had 2 with that goal line situation, but talk about a team that has kind of reinvented themselves, flipped that roster several times now under that regime, since Carroll and Snyder have taken over. So, but they got the men behind the scenes to be able to do that, and you're seeing the Seahawks always remain relevant and playing in the toughest division. So we appreciate that insight and info, Neil. What do you got going on over at Succeed in Football blog?
Right now, I wish I could talk more about the story that I'm going to have. We used to, when we started the blog about 5 or 6 years ago, we had what's called War Story Wednesdays, and we would talk about something interesting that happened in a war room or happened on the field or something like that from someone that we had spoken to. We've got one, and I kind of want to tease it. It's about Sean Payton. I got to get permission from the person who told me the story before I actually put it out there. I hope I can, because it's really – to me, a teaching moment about persistence and about what it takes to just get your foot in the door when it comes to the NFL. And I know a lot of people read our blog that aspire to be scouts, aspire to be agents, that kind of thing. To me, this would be a great way for people to be reminded of what it takes just to get started. Then once you get started, of course, then you kind of write your own ticket and you got to kind of go from there. So that's what we're looking at for Succeed in Football. As far as for the Friday wrap, we're going to talk about what we've just talked about. We're going to kind of talk about the progress of the BART list so far, as well as a few observations I've made. And as I began kind of researching for this and getting ready for it, a lot of good stuff there, a lot of good stuff about how scouting departments have been built for this season, how that's changing, and a little bit about kind of the temporal nature of scouts these days and how few of them have been with the team for the last 6 years. That was part of our research as we built this, because we wanted to make sure everyone on the list had been with at least one team on draft day 5 of the last 6 seasons. To me, that speaks to their permanence, their lasting ability to kind of be in the league and be relevant. And so we broke all that down. That's when we'll be talking about that a little bit more tomorrow in the wrap.
So much unknown from the outsider's view when it comes to the scouting and agent community, but Neil Stratton brings us inside the league. Make sure you go check it out, insidetheleague.com. Of course, the Friday wrap, like clockwork, each and every Friday. That'll be coming out tomorrow, about around 7 p.m. Eastern time. Neil, what are folks going to find there?
Well, just, kind of, again, if you're a fan of scouting, if you're a fan of what goes on in war rooms, if you're a fan of how teams are built in the front office, that's kind of what we'll be looking at a little. Again, a few more takeaways just from the research we did to put together this list, to put together people that are on the list. We'll be looking, I guess, with a bit more of a microscope at what teams are doing these days and how they're doing it. Just like as you said, Rick, there's just not a lot of focus put on front offices and how and who the people are that are building these teams, and we hope to expose that a bit more and make that a little bit less, shall we say, I guess, in the shadows.
No, absolutely. And good to see Jeff Ireland, who we should mention wrote the foreword for Scout Speak. So if you want more insight and perspective from Jeff Ireland, former GM, current mover and shaker there, go to Amazon.com, get the books by Neil Stratton. And you mentioned Sean Payton, a client of Don Yee, who at hubfootball.com, the Seattle Seahawks are a multiple attendee. And so we're just bringing it all around here. And kudos to Neil Stratton, getting a lot of love in the chat room. Friday is a must read. It's a tradition. And Thursday is a must tune in tradition here on the State of Football each and every Thursday with Neil Stratton. Make sure you go follow him at Inside the League. Any parting shots here, Neil?
No, I guess all I have to say is let's go Rams and Bills so that I can look a little smarter maybe for once I get the end of the season. Prediction is never my strong point, but who knows? Maybe even a blind dog finds a bone every once in a while, right?
Hey, you never know. I've got your guy Jameis Winston as a candidate for comeback player of the year. So who dey?
Who dat? That's the Bengals. They stole that from us. It's who dat. Get it right now.
I'm from Jersey, brother. Cincinnati, Nolans. It's all good.
Not the same. Not the same.
Love you, Neil.
Have a great weekend, Rick. I wish I was up there to help you dig out from all this wet weather and all this stuff, man. I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm glad that Sam's back in the fold. And Oceana's back with you. Thank
you, Neil. I appreciate that. And hang in there. I know hurricane season's rough for you guys there in the Gulf Coast as well. So we appreciate you.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too. That's Neil Stratton, always delivering the goods and getting Lorenz all excited over here, chopping it up, talking some scouting and agent business. Lorenz, any final thoughts?
Oh, you're cracking me up there with the Who Day. I'm trying to keep my composure, but another thing where Jeff Ireland was actually on that's really worth checking out is Neil's podcast. It was called "Help Me Out, Someone." It was he had former
Best
scouts
player available.
Best player available. There you go. Sorry, I didn't remember, but he had former people that were in front offices in the 2017 draft. On his podcast. I think it's still at the NFL Draft Bible Podcast Network, and that's something where anyone who's interested in football, who's interested in knowing or finding out how these teams are built should tune into. I know something that I remember from Jeff Ireland saying is that they do have a very strong defensive line, but they like building on a strength. That's why they selected Peyton Turner in the first round this year, and I think that's something that we can see really in the top and in these top teams how they're built and the way that they're built. You got to scroll down a little bit on the podcast network, but I think if you just type in best player available, there's a lot of great guests and a lot of great shows, including the wrap-up show with Fran Duffy, who's the Eagles X's and O's guy, who was really impressive on there as well. So that's really something worth checking out. And Neil, inside the league, they do a great job. You know, the two underappreciated things in the football industry are the front offices and then offensive lines. So they're doing a great job covering one base there. And I hope more people start appreciating the work that a lot of these people in front offices do.
Brother, did we forget about the fullbacks?
Yeah, the fullbacks as well. You know, that's true. That's true. Fullbacks, punters as well. Punters are huge.
Did you know? Here's a stat for you. I'm not a big stat guy. Here's one for you. And I was depressed to hear this, Lorenz. 8% of all NFL snaps in the entire league last year, 8% of all snaps in the league consisted of a traditional fullback. That's sad.
Yeah, that's not enough, but you see a lot of teams that do have success really using the fullback. I mean, it really depends on your offensive philosophy, but there are a number of teams. Talk about John Gruden, his offense, it's a big part. The Ravens, who do a lot of work on the ground, a lot of run-heavy teams, the 49ers, they still use the fullback. And a guy like a Kyle Juszczyk, Alec Ingold, those guys are weapons in the game, still are in 2021 and going forward, hopefully, because it's a fun position to watch. Shout out to German. Jakob Johnson, who is the fullback for the New England Patriots, is a really good player.
Through the IPP, International Pathway Program, via Iowa. All right, well, Lorenz, did you want to hang around for my predictions, or you got to get out of here?
I mean, I can hang around, you know, if you want me to tell you that you're gonna be wrong, but if you want the people believing in it, no, it does matter to me. I can stick around for a couple more minutes.
All right, I'll give my picks. You can react to them.
All right.
Big shout out to our guy Joe Everett, Indianapolis native, who, speaking of fullbacks, Mike Burton's still hanging out somewhere in the National Football League, about 6-7 years now. But yeah, he devoured a 10-pound steak at Don Shula's Steakhouse, Lorenz, during the combine. And it was one of those situations where if you finish the steak, you get a t-shirt type of deal. Not only did he finish the steak, not only was all the meat and the fat gone, it was just the bone. He said, yo, I can do another one. No problem. Like, you got another one back there?
There you go. I mean,
unbelievable.
The stress of the combine, that young man must have been real hungry.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right, so we're going to get into our predictions. Shula's no longer there in Indianapolis, by the way. One is opening, I believe, in the NFL or the Pro Football Hall of Fame Village. Now, we're waiting for our guy. Yeah, I could put him down at Hooters now, but not back-to-back nights. I got crushed with the heartburn last time. We're waiting for our guy, Landon Gorbenko from FitGMR, as we go overtime here in a little bit. We're going to go in just a second. And I see him joining us in the virtual green room right now. So we're going to have him hang out for 5 minutes as I get through my Thursday predictions here, Lorenz. So I went 6-4 last week against the spread with the college football pick'ems. 2-1 with the best bets. And here we go now for this week's picks. Here we go. And Samantha, we're going to have to work on getting some music here when I do my selections moving forward. We'll start off with the college football slate. I'm going to go Coastal Carolina tonight, I believe. That's going to be 25.5 over Kansas. That's on the record, Coastal Carolina. Boston College over UMass, 37.5. There's just a big separation between the heavyweights and the lightweights. BC being the heavyweights. They put up 52 a week ago. It could be even more this week. 37.5. I don't usually like laying 6 touchdowns, but I'll do it here. Rutgers, we talked about it, 2.5 over Syracuse. You saw they just dismantled Temple last week by 50 points. 2.5 over Syracuse, which might be even a worse team than Temple. I am taking this all day. This is actually my best bet of the week for the college football week 2 docket. So Rutgers over Syracuse. Purdue minus 34 over UConn. I hate to do it. Randy Edsall is out, fired after 1 week. Again, you're laying 5 touchdowns. It might be covered by the halftime. This game is going to be Bubba Sparks ugly. Believe me when I tell you, I've got Purdue minus 34 over UConn. And then Liberty just laying 4 over the Troy Trojans, who got off to a fast start there in week 1. However, Malik Willis, just too hot to handle, too cool for school. Minus 4 all day long. I'm taking Liberty minus 4 over Troy. So that's Coastal Carolina minus 25.5 over Kansas. Boston College minus 37.5 over UMass. Rutgers laying the 2.5 against Cuse. Purdue minus 34 over UConn, and Liberty minus 4 over Troy. All 5 favorites in the college football world this week, with Rutgers right here in New Jersey being my best bet. Lorenz, any thoughts there?
Man, I like them all. I can't say I disagree, but the one with 37.5, what was that? Boston College, man, that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points. So that's one I'm kind of iffy about, but I do like the thought process over the others, and definitely some good bets and some good lines in there.
Yeah, I think Boston College with the up-tempo offense is going to have plenty of opportunity to light up that scoreboard. It's going to be like the 4th of July up there in Chestnut Hill. All right, let's go over to NFL Week 1 Pick'em. First week on the books. Here's what I got. I got 4 games, 2 best bets. We'll start off tonight, Thursday Night Football. Tampa Bay now up 8.5 over the Cowgirls. I'm laying the points. This is going to be covered at halftime. Tampa Bay too much in the trenches up front. Offense, defense. The front lines are going to win it. Dak Prescott in for a long day. Tom Brady, he's going to put the recliner up. I really think you might see Blaine Gabbert here in the 4th quarter. I'm taking Tampa Bay all day. Carolina, 4.5 over the Jets. This is going to be an easy dismantling. Coach Matt Rule had the opportunity to be hired by the Jets a couple years ago. Jets said, you have the job. Hold up. One stipulation, you can't hire your own coaches. Matt Rule gave him the middle finger salute, said sayonara, and he's down in Carolina with a pair of former Jets and Sam Darnold, Robbie Anderson. The trifecta are just going to seek revenge out on the new regime there with the Jets. 4.5. That is a best bet, by the way. Also a best bet, Seattle, 2.5 over the Colts. Give me the quarterback situation. A shaky Carson Wentz, who did not play this preseason. We just talked about Seattle crushing it, turning over that roster each and every season, fielding a competitive team. To win by a field goal only? I know it's on the road, but to me, this is another best bet. Lock it. Seattle over Indianapolis, laying the 2.5. And then Denver over the Giants. I'm sorry, folks, but the defensive line of the Denver Broncos is just going to have a field day with the New York Giants offensive line. It's like turnstiles going through the New York subway. If you watch the New York Giants offensive line, there's no protection, there's no guard, there's no ability, quite frankly. So Denver, to me, is an easy one. That's Tampa over Dallas. minus the 8.5. Carolina minus the 4.5 over the Jets. Seattle minus 2.5 over the Colts. Denver minus 3 over the Giants. Again, all the favorites. I'm going with the easy picks that just stand out to me there, Lorenz. Any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say don't sleep on the Colts. This is a strong defensive team, and week one, we know how it goes. You know, it's tough. It's usually tougher on the offense. Usually the defense has the advantage coming out at home. I do agree that the Seahawks are the favorites to win that one, but I wouldn't be shocked if this Colts defense with Matt Eberflus, with the people that they have, a healthy DeForest Buckner, they could be really good. So don't count them out. But there's definitely some good bets and some good lines in there that, especially week one, there's a lot of unknowns. But if your process is sound, you can take advantage for sure as a bettor.
Well, we'll come back. We'll do it again. We'll review it next week. But it's been a crazy show here today, from Lorenz Lineweber to Dane Vandernat to the dogs barking to Neil Stratton. And so, Lorenz, I appreciate you hopping on with us today. We are going to go overtime here, folks. I've been telling you about the esports endeavor that I have taken on, and we're going to get into that in just a second. And my new role as the commissioner of the Conference 1 Collegiate Esports League coming October 4th is our first matchup, actually. I'm very excited about taking on the commissioner role, and we're going to go overtime in just a minute and talk about that. But before we do, we got to thank Lorenz Lineweber for joining us from across the pond there in Germany, Lorenz. We'll be back at it again together here on 9/11, not celebrating, but honoring all of the heroes from September 11th, the 20th year anniversary this Saturday. Any parting shots for the people here today before we let you go?
Yeah, I mean, it's always an honor to get to be on here. Had a lot of fun, outstanding guests today. Unfortunately, won't be there on Saturday because, I'll be out there at the ELF. But it'll still be a great lineup. Just for the people, whenever this super long show is over, go head over to the NFLDraftBible.com and go get the newest scouting lens on Carson Strong. He's a quarterback. I don't think this is a good quarterback class, but if you're looking at a guy who could be the guy in this class, I think he's got a good chance. And you can read the article, find out why. But thanks so much for having me, and I can't wait to do it again here on the State of Football.
Well, we appreciate you, Lorenz. That is Lorenz Lineweber, senior scout here at the NFL Draft Bible, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's show. We're going to go overtime here, our first overtime segment, introducing our NFL Draft Bible audience to the esports community. And I've been telling you guys about my new role I'm taking on as commissioner of Conference 1. My goal is just to create credibility, visibility, and profitability within the collegiate esports community. And so what we're doing at Conference 1 is really just growing the NCAA college football version of college esports. And I'm so excited to bring that to you. And at the forefront on the mainstream is going to be Sports Illustrated, where we'll have team pages for all the schools participating. We'll have rosters, we'll have profiles, we'll have stats, standings, the schedule, the live streams. It's so exciting. I can't wait to bring it to you. It's just 3 weeks away here, coming up October 4th. Make sure you check out the website, cf1.gg. It's cf1.gg. And I'm telling you, this is going to be such a movement that takes off and really just showcases what a great profession that the esports gaming community can be and is. And really, there's gamers now generating over millions of dollars. And I think I saw it was a $179 billion, would it be, $1 billion industry just last year. And that's why this is just the start of what's going on here. And I see I see some people getting ready in the chat room that are ready for this. We've got a lot of crossover audience, so let's do it. This is going to be our first overtime esports segment, brought to you by Conference 1. This is Rick Saratella. We are going to do this here. Samantha, behind the scenes, are you ready for our guest? He is Landon Gorbenko from FitGMR, joining us right now on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. What's the problem?
We're going to play a video about FitGMR.
Oh, okay. Let's play the video. We'll start it off that way. There you go.
How has FitGMR changed and impacted Cloud9? I mean, honestly,
Cloud9, North America's best international team, are headed back to Worlds.
the difference between the teams that actually win or lose are the teams that are going to actually have the stamina and still have like a sharp mind through that event. Prior to having FitGMR's exercise routines that we've been doing, my players around Game 5 would get tired and lose. What's happened with the training that we've been doing, we are now, when we get to this Game 5 situations, we're the team on stage that has energy, we're the team on stage actually is sharp, and we're the team that's raising the trophies. The FitGMR app helps you not only track on your everyday workouts, but we travel a lot. So while we're traveling, we can kind of pinpoint how our players are doing, how our managers are doing. They can report what their sleep is like, they report the nutrition, and it gives us the ability to catch patterns that are not good early and address them and fix them. And our training routines, training up along both, has resulted in us lifting trophies at the end of the day. And for me, that's what actually matters.
Sorry, I don't think I'm getting audio over here.
Landon Gorbenko joining us from FitGMR here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. Good morning, Landon. How are you today?
Hey, I'm going pretty good. Just getting into the groove of the esport grind today. It's pretty much what I eat, sleep, and breathe. So every day is gaming, esports all day, every day.
It is a fascinating industry, and I'm getting my feet wet with it. It's so exciting. There's so much going on with the upcoming fall seasons here and the collegiate esports world coming together. You are somebody who, as you mentioned, eats, breathes, and sleeps gaming. And so that's why we want to kind of bring our listening audience inside the gamer community. And so let's start off, before we get into FitGMR, let's introduce yourself to our audience at home. Tell them a little bit about yourself, because I see here, not only are you working with FitGMR, you're playing for the London Spitfire, you're instructing esports over at Keanu College. I mean, what aren't you doing these days, Landon?
Well, first, I'm not playing for Spitfire. I am nowhere near that good of a gamer by any means. So I'll just clear that up real quick. Yeah, there's a lot of things I've done in the esports industry so far, primarily just because like this is the industry where I have the most passion, and I'm as diehard of a gamer as you can possibly imagine. It's been like one of the central pieces to my entire life. From when I was 4 years old all the way up to now when I'm almost 29. So it's been a few decades of me just playing video games. And there was a big issue that I kind of bumped into in my teen years where I went down a sort of a bad road, gained a lot of weight, was classified as morbidly obese at one point, had a lot of social anxiety and depression issues and things of that nature. And I realized that there's a component that I wanted to kind of shift in the industry, and I wanted to bring it back in. So I went and got a degree in psychology, got a master's in sport and performance psychology, with the entire intent of bringing it back into the esports and gaming industry for two main purposes. One being really change the way that the next generation approaches gaming, so that they understand the sports science behind games, so they understand how you're supposed to approach gaming, how you do it effectively, how you do it healthy, how you do find balance in life and gaming, and all that kind of good stuff. And then the other kind of prong of that mission was so that I really wanted to understand what makes the elite tick. Like, how do you get to the top 0.001% of the players? How do you reach that echelon when you have 40 million people competing for a spot and you're the one person that gets it? Like, how do you do that? And so I was fascinated with the elite performance in esports. And now with the modern day research and the tech that's starting to be applied to it, we're taking a look at it from a very traditional sports science principle. So what's happening in your brain, what's happening in your body, what's happening with your muscles, how is your posture impacting performance over a long period of time, how are your sleep states affecting the way that you perform on competition day, how are they affecting your scrims, your skill acquisition, or your development. So it's really taking everything that's outside of the game and applying to how do we make a gamer better? And so I've just been kind of bringing that to the industry, and I've worked with teams from like very introductory 13-year-olds just playing Fortnite for the first time, all the way up to professional international tournaments, and then kind of everything in between, as well as startups, as companies, as consulting on things. So there's been a very wide range of experience that I've gotten over the past few years.
That's a incredible wide net of experience for sure. Head of mental performance, Landon Grabenko here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Overtime, as we introduce you to the esports community. Nobody better than Landon to kick it off. And you just mentioned a slew of experience, Landon. And I think it's really important with, the mental health and awareness of the physical health. And as you mentioned, it can become kind of nature if you're just always gaming and not taking care of your physical side and your mental health. It's very easy to get caught up in this, right? Because it's now a serious business, where when I was growing up, it was more of a hobby type of thing. So take me through just the process of, when did you realize that gaming was a serious business? And then also, how did you figure out that, hey, you know what, there's another element to this, that if I feel good, practice my mental health, practice my physical health, it's the complete package, and it's a very necessary thing.
When did I realize it was a legitimate business? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if there's a single point in time where I can pin that down to. I think it really boils down to the fact that I'm a stubborn enough person that loves esports too much. Like, I think that's really what it is. And I don't know if there's ever a defining moment where it's like, oh yeah, this is a career. It was more of like, this is what I love. I'm going to make it a career. And so I pushed very, very hard for a very long period of time, pretty much grinding out everything that I possibly could in order to try and find the career. Luckily for me, as I was coming out of my education, my training, the industry was just starting to unfold, and the career trajectories were getting really nice. The player salaries were starting to get boosted up, so you could start seeing that as players were getting paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, there was going to be support staff that was needed, like in traditional sports. So your sports psychs, your physical trainers, your rehab specialists, whatever it might be. And so it was just a very convenient timing for me, plus my stubbornness and passion. So I think that's where it was for that. One of the primary issues, though, that we're now dealing with is, I think, the early age retirement within esports. And this is just one of the biggest, most commonly talked about topics within esports right now. And so applying what I do to esports is largely focused on increasing longevity within esports, which is a kind of like a crazy thought to think of, like how is a gamer retiring at 21, 22? And it's largely due to the way that people are structuring training, causing mental health issues, burnout. A lot of people, you'll hear the phrase, I just don't know where my passion went for the game. Like, it just disappeared. I don't love this anymore. The devs are ruining it with patches. They're doing this, doing that. If you dig into those statements quite a bit, you can often find that it was a person that overgrinded the game. They had dysfunctional training patterns, and it kind of led to a cognitive burnout, which pushes them away from the game. And now you have somebody that devoted the last 7 years of their life to getting good at a game, now being forced to retire because they just no longer have the passion for it. And so dealing with those kind of things are a very hot, or a very common and hot topic issue within esports right now.
That's fascinating, because I thought the NFL had a short career. By 30, you're a dinosaur. In the esports, 21, you're saying, hey, time to hang it up. But because of, what you're doing in this space, and we'll get into FitGMR more here in just a little bit, but the mental conditioning, it seems like the mental toll, is it because, Landon, that they're just so involved with it early on in the process that by the time they get to 21, they get burnt out? Is that the situation?
$1 million question right there. I'd love to know the answer for it if you find it. I think there's two things that we're kind of looking at now. One is being, at what point do you specialize a player in a game? So it's like, if you have a 13-year-old that loves video games and you know that they probably have the drive or the skill to push it, do you specialize them in a game at 14? Like, do I plunge somebody into League of Legends at 14, push them for the next, 5-6 years in League of Legends, really hone their skills? But what if I do that? Now, 6 years later, they've lost the passion for that game. Or do I put them into just like a wide variety of games so that They're getting a little bit of Fortnite, a little bit of Apex, a little bit of Call of Duty, a little bit of Overwatch, a little bit of League of Legends. Then when they hit like 16, 17, then you hyper specialize them in a game. And maybe now you have a professional that's more robust or has a wider range of skills and isn't yet burnt out from the game. So maybe you prolong somebody's career that way. Maybe we're trying to look into that. We're trying to figure out the answer to that. The other question is like, how do you structure training? A lot of people, when you look at traditional sports, you go to practices, you go to games. And when you're outside of that, you're just kind of outside of the sport for the most part. You're doing other things. You're maybe at work or you're at school or you're just doing other hobbies. You're enjoying life. Esports and gaming is a little bit different in the sense that you go to your scrims, you go to your practices, but then you go home and then you go into solo queue or you play some games by yourself. And if you're not doing that, you might be watching Twitch or you might be watching professionals play. It's very difficult to get away from the competitive industry or the esports industry if you are competing in it. And so you just have these days where people are kind of like me, where you eat, sleep, and breathe esports, and you do that for 3, 4, 5 years, then that's a recipe for kind of burnout because you never really have a break from the game. Even if you're not practicing or competing in it, you might be playing something casual, you might be watching it. And if you're not giving your brain that rest, your brain's really never pulling back from that industry, and it's just eventually going to push you away from it because it's burnt out. And so that's one of the things that we try and specialize or focus on in FitGamer is incorporating a more holistic life in the sense of introducing other hobbies, introducing breaks, scheduling breaks, doing these things that kind of break up the day. And what a lot of people tend to find is that when they actually introduce these breaks or they introduce other hobbies, one, they learn new skills that help them play the game better. So like whether it's some kind of resilience component or some kind of creative problem solving component, they might learn that. But also two, they start getting better at the game because their practices are more efficient because they're not burnt out constantly.
So important, especially during the era of COVID, where so many people are, secluded to their homes. And you see the website optimizing game performance by maximizing human potential. I love that. And so in this day and age where a lot of gamers are, secluded to the video game universe, they need to diversify. And that's what FitGamers bring into the table. So let's get into it. We're talking to Landon Gorbenko here on the State of Football Overtime, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated, along with Rick Saratella, London Spitfire, esports instructor, head of mental performance at FitGamer. So tell us about, how did you link up with the good folks at FitGamer? And I've had a chance to talk to yourself and Howard and Kristen off the air, and just a great group of individuals, an outstanding organization. You guys have built a really strong foundation here so that if you haven't heard about FitGamer, you're about to. And Landon, let's peel back the layers of the onion. Take us through the process. How did you get linked up with FitGamer? What is the vision? What are the goals that you guys are aiming to do here?
Yeah, serendipity. I think that's the best way to describe how I got linked up with FitGamer in the first place. Like I was kind of mentioning early on, I'm a very stubborn person when it comes to trying to find my career in esports. Like there was nothing that was going to get in my way of making sure that I had a career, because it is what I wanted. And so early days in my career, I put a lot of irons and a lot of fires, and I started working with a lot of companies, started consulting with a lot of people or teams or organizations or businesses or whatever it might be. And at one point we were hosting a podcast with a different company that I was working for. We happened to have the one of the founders' spouses on that podcast at one point, which is Mike. He's the one that does the physical training in Cloud9. I believe he was in that promo video. Mike was on our podcast. Shortly after that, Mike was on that podcast. He and Kristen, one of the founders of FitGamer, they called me up one day and said, "Hey, we're putting together this company called FitGamer. We're focusing on all these things." They broke down the company. They talked about the pillars. They told me what the mission, the objectives are of the company, and how they want to shift the way that gamers approach gaming. I go, cool, that's neat. I'm in. Right. And so they offered me the position to work with FitGamer, initially kind of as a split of the mental performance, the sports psych side of things, as well as the biz dev. As we've continued to kind of grow and push out and get a little bit more specialized and honed in on what we're doing, I'm now taking much more of the mental performance and sports psych, that side of things, and the biz dev has been handed off to somebody else. So I can really hyper dial into what I love and what I'm passionate about. And so That's really a complete serendipity. I met somebody else, hosted something, met somebody else, and now I'm on FitGMR, right? Like it's the esports industry, and this is one of the biggest pieces of advice that I have for a lot of people out there is you never know which lead will lead to your success in the industry, because this industry is all about connections. And so chase everything. If you get the opportunity to do something, or you get to help host something, or you get to do an event or work with a team, or say yes to people, so that one day one of those yeses will lead to a position, like whatever it might be, whatever your goal is. And so complete serendipity mixed with stubbornness is how I got here.
No, I love it. And that was actually, you answered my next question, because I was going to ask you, so what do people do to try to follow your path? Because you're living the dream, right? This is your obsession. This is now your profession. And what a wonderful thing, because I know you're probably like me. I wake up, I always joke I'm going to have the meat grinder here, because all we do is make the sausage all day. And hey, you know, we put it in, but we don't care. It's what we do. And so kudos to you, Landon Gorbenko, here for just being stubborn and smashing the barriers and making that dream come true. So I know that the app is coming out soon. FitGMR, tell us a little bit about the launch. How can people go find it? Where can they download it, Landon?
Yeah, so the app is going to be, I believe our beta is opening on October 1st, and it'll just be in the App Store. And this is, the initial days are going to be a way of helping you to track and understand what's happening in your daily life and what you can be doing in order to improve it. I'm probably going to leave it there, because we're going to leave the app a little bit of a mystery for the launch, so that there's a little surprise and oomph behind it and get people excited about it. So I don't want to dive too much into the app, potentially next week when we get closer to the launch date. But yeah, it's going to be a way that you can improve your daily functioning and finding ways to improve your healthy habits and getting rid of some of the ones that are maybe holding you back from performing at a higher level.
Yeah, we'll continue to peel back the layers with Landon Gorbenko each and every, what's today? Thursday. We'll have him back next Thursday. So we're burning the midnight oil here, Landon. That's what we do. So
it's a stubbornness, right?
Let's put a ribbon on it, though, because, you know, we're going to save some of this good stuff for next week. We gave them a little taste. We wet their palate. We gave them the appetizer. We'll come back and maybe feed, you know, I'm Italian, so we do like 5-course meals over here. So we'll give them the second course. Usually we have a little salad or pasta before the entree. So we'll come back. Maybe we'll serve the salad next week. But I know you're checking in from Canada. We'll talk more about that next week as well. But what part of Canada are you tuning in from?
Right now I'm on the Western Prairies. This is where I'm originally from, but I was living in Toronto for the past 3-4 years trying to pursue esports, and finally bumped back to the West Side, just because I'm not, truthfully, it's kind of a weird thing for me, but I'm not a big city boy. I'm more of a small town kind of person. And so despite Toronto being where esports are, I moved all the way back to the prairies, so right near the Rockies.
All right, all good. From East to West Coast, we spread love, and we have a lot of Canadian contingent and viewership here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network, on Sports Illustrated. We're global, Landon. You'll find that out.
That's and what we appreciate
you bringing. I see some of the esports and Bird Sauce, and just recently, and all kinds of guys hanging out in the chat room throughout the show, waiting for your appearance. So we appreciate the time. Let's do it again next week. Any parting shots, final words of wisdom for our listening audience before we let you go here?
Final words of wisdom. I think I'm just going to rehash one of the things I said earlier. If you are interested, if you're a viewer that is interested in getting into esports, the best thing that you can be doing is getting some experience right now. The network experience and who you know in the industry is truly the best way to get into it. So it's one of the biggest pieces of advice for anybody that kind of comes to the industry is get your name out there, start meeting people, and start just volunteering and offering pro bono time to help people out, do whatever they want to do within the industry. And then also, obviously, my last parting advice is cheer for Cloud9, always. 100% of the time, always be cheering for Cloud9.
Cloud9, we got London Spitfire jerseys, we got people checking in from France, Canada. It's a real global movement here, this esports world, this universe that we're going to bring you inside piece by piece. We're so excited to do it. Landon Gorbenko, our first overtime guest here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network on Sports Illustrated. Landon, we thank you so much, man. This was fun. I look forward to doing it again next week.
Yeah, man. I love chatting esports. So whenever you want, give me a call and I'll be here.
Oh, yeah, we will. And give the folks at home the Twitter handle, the website, anything else you want to plug where they can find all your latest and greatest happenings.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to get a little bit more info on FitGamer, you can go to fitgamer.gg. That's where our website is. That's where a lot of the information will be. If you want more of like an up-to-date what's happening in the industry or what we're doing in the industry or kind of just like info, you can follow FitGamer at FitGamer on Twitter, just FITGMR. If you're looking for me personally, you can find me at Vertex Psych, so Psych with PSYC. And that's where you can find us. So fitgamer.gg, at FitGamer, at Vertex Psych, wherever you want to find us there.
Stuff, Landon, we appreciate the time doing big things. Landon Gorbenko, there you have it. We'll see you next week, Landon.
All right, we'll see you guys.
That is our overtime segment, our first one on the esports. You heard me talk about it. Now we're going to be about it. And I'm so excited for the Conference 1 launch, October 4th, Valorant, Rocket League. We're going to have some great announcements, maybe in association with FitGamer. Who knows? Stay tuned for that. We'll also have the Gamers coming on Wednesday. So next week we have the Gamers Wednesday. We'll have Landon and FitGamer Thursday. We'll have some head coaching esports participants here. I know Texas A&M getting into the fray. Ohio Northern, Oklahoma already on board with the upcoming Conference 1 fall season. We'll get them all on here at some point leading up to the kickoff, the launch off, the game off, October 4th. Oh boy, just 3 weeks away. So we hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. I know a lot of you guys like Craig T. Smith out there in Canada. We had Amanda Ruler and Chris O'Leary yesterday. So we continue to expand our presence north of the border, overseas. We had France chiming in. We had Lorenz in Germany. Man, it's a worldwide party over here on the State of Football, part of the Fan Nation Network, on Sports Illustrated. Each and every day, you're home for real football talk, 9 a.m. Eastern, and now esports talk. Man, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what the next level is. Make sure you go follow Conference 1 on Twitter. Visit the website, cf1.gg. If you are a school out there interested in participating, get at our guy, Scott Zachman. He's just waiting for your phone call, and we're waiting for your phone call. So 973-941-5959. Get at me. It ain't hard. You want to get on board with the steam train? Hop on or move out of the way because you'll get run over. That's what we do here. Rick Saratella. Thank you to Lorenz Lineweber, Dane Vandernat, Neil Stratton, Landon Gorbenko, Samantha behind the scenes. Big Law will be back in the saddle tomorrow to bring you home on the Football Friday. I'll be back on 9/11 where we'll honor all the heroes of September 11th. I am Rick Saratella. Thank you so much for tuning in to the NFLDraftBible.com, all of our social media platforms here on Fan Nation, part of the Sports Illustrated Network. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.